Okay, here we go. 5, 4, 3.
Good evening and welcome to Face the Tribune, another edition on this evening, and I'm very blessed to have two beautiful ladies right here with me today. Cindy Neun from the Freedom Book, everyone shift, what do you call that, second hand or second?
Right hand girl.
Right hand girl. And Patricia Shea from Las Vegas Tribune, and also known as Lady Liberty. And we're going to discuss tonight the situation with Erwin Schiff and the book that was banned by federal judge Lloyd George, which this is the federal mafia. And after several years, how many years the book has been out? 10 years?
It's been in publication for 13 years.
13 years.
This is my own personal copy of a former edition.
That's the copy we have.
And then there was one before this. Now, Erwin Schiff was in jail when he finished this book, The Federal Mafia, and you can read about his trials right here in the book. And I think that that's one of the main reasons why the government would like to ban the book, because it does expose the corruption of the courts. Yes.
Or it's three different tones?
Actually, there's a new printing that had just been ordered right before the restraining order went on the book. And so we have the 2003 edition. We don't have it ourselves. It's still, I think, with the distributor or the printer. But we had just about run out of the books again and had to go to our fourth printing. So now the book, the new edition, this is not it, but the new edition shows that over 100,000 copies have now been in circulation.
That's the book that's been sold in the e-book
on
for $39?
eBay. People are actually, it's a $38 cover price if you could buy it from Erwin Schiff at Freedom Books. But because the author is banned from selling it, now you can bid on it on eBay, because a number of his students have been purchasing the book by the case for several years. He gives you a case discount. And because of that, now they're selling them on eBay, and some of them have sold for over $300 per copy.
Wow.
I saw that.
Whenever the government attempts to ban a book in America, that's a really big deal.
Yeah.
And so,
are you guys making any kind of deal with the government so they can ban the book, and then, you guys can make a little bit more money, or?
Well, that's just the thing. You see, we don't get to benefit from this at all, because
that's right.
Because only now, Rolando, if you had the book, you could sell it for $300. If you had the book, you could sell it for $300.
Well, I got the book.
But my book, if I were to hand it to you and walk away, I could go to jail for doing that.
I got the book.
That's obscene.
I got the books that I got it from, probably 4 years now. I got about 10, 12 copies of that book.
We have a copy of this book right here.
Well, this is the same book. This was his printing.
See, you have to remember, I know Erwin Schiff for over 27 years. And he's been in my house eating Cuban food, and we met in the Cuban restaurant a couple of times. Accidentally, he was there with a group of people, I was there with a group of people.
I've had that happen to me as well.
But Erwin and I have been friends for many years, and I'm very proud of his friendship, and I consider myself very lucky to know Erwin Schiff. He's a good man, and I can say nothing else but good things about Erwin Schiff.
I have to say the same thing. Erwin has, I have a lot of respect, admiration, because of the man's tenacity. He is not afraid of the government. He is willing to take his stand on what he believes, his principles. And today that is not seen too often.
Well, I think the people that are afraid of the government is the people that either don't know the law, or the people that are doing something wrong and they don't want to make any waves. It's two different things.
There's more.
Or they're afraid to lose some of the material things.
The government has made the law in such a way, in the Internal Revenue Code, that if you did want to volunteer to pay the income tax, which is based on voluntary compliance and self-assessment, because you will not find any provision in the Internal Revenue Code making you liable for or required to pay the income tax. That's what ownership teaches you in the Federal Mafia, and he shows you how to file a return based upon the law. Well, the code itself, you look at all these pages, there are 40-some taxes that are being legally collected inside the Internal Revenue Code. The income tax simply is not there. And, but they have all of these pages. Now, all of these pages make up a code. You could not possibly, if you own this book, without have the tabs, the highlighting, and understanding the little sheet of instructions that Erwin would give you, so you would understand how to use this book. If you were to try to fill out a traditional tax return, claim your earnings as income for income tax purposes, which is not, but you can volunteer that if you want to the government. And if you were to do that and then try to take certain deductions like they outline in all the pages of the book, and you try to do that, by the time you're finished, you are so confused, you understand that you're going to have to rework your numbers because you're going to have to make a choice, perhaps, many of us, especially those of us who are now unemployed.
We're going to have to take a break.
Okay.
And we're going to be right back now. We're talking to Sidney Neun, and my co-host is Patricia Say from Las Vegas Tribune. Stay tuned because this is a very interesting show, and you learn from this lady. Don't get confused. Just because she's beautiful doesn't mean that she's not intelligent. We'll be right back.
All right. Good.
Well, if it isn't live, right?
No.
What?
Well, I was just wondering, if you're like in the middle of a sentence. I mean, I only had one more thing to say. I only had to say they make the code in such a...
Because they have to put the breaks later. They have to put the commercials in that particular timing. But now we're going back to don't worry about it.
Well, but when you watch these shows after we do them, notice how that works out. I mean, when it's live, you understand. You gotta do all that because everything's happening, and they're gonna go whether you're talking or not.
These people are experts. They're gonna make you look good.
Well, the reason.
Just let me finish my sentence, all right? That's all. Because a lot of times what happens to me, and especially when Erwin is on here, is that I get halfway into the middle of my thought, and then I'm cut off. Everybody else is talking, and I never get to finish what I say, and I look like an idiot. And I would rather not even be here, quite frankly, okay?
I see what you're saying.
Because I am not taken seriously.
Oh, you are taking serious. Otherwise, you won't be here.
Look at the other shows we've done here.
Yeah.
And then come back.
Are you saying that when it's
But the other shows
Erwin
were live.
and
The other
you?
shows were live.
Right.
You know.
Okay, so
Right.
we can do that. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, here we go.
5, 4, 3.
We're back now, and we're talking to Cindy Neun from Freedom Book, and Cindy was abruptly interrupted so we can pay the rent and the light bill.
Yes.
And now she's going to finish the sentence that she was
Yes.
saying.
We were just saying that the code is made to be so voluminous, and anyone will tell you, former Commissioner Shirley Peterson said that no one can decipher the Internal Revenue Code, not even the people who are charged to enforce it. But what you will find, if you attempt to do what the government asks you to do in filing a traditional 1040 form, and many of you who are watching this show, you know that what I'm going to say is true, you have to sometimes make a choice between being honest on that form, honest in the way the government wants you to fill it out, and being able to feed your family and have a little bit of money in the bank, maybe, just a little bit of savings. Do you know that Americans save less money than any other country, any citizen in any other country?
That's true.
So for you to try to do it the way the government wants you to do it, you're going to have to claim your wages or your earnings as income for income tax purposes on your 1040 form, and it's not. You're going to try to find enough deductions so you still have enough money left over without sending up too many red flags for the auditors at the IRS.
Right.
And so you have to lie. Many of us have had to lie on our income tax return in order to stay alive, in order to keep a roof over our heads.
Well, the way the laws are written in anything, not just the IRS, There are so many things that the government is making you like.
That's right.
And so that's where their power is. And that's why a lot of people won't listen to this program, won't listen to this message, won't talk about it, don't want to know about it, because they too know that they don't want to rattle the cages at the IRS. A lot of media won't talk to us, won't listen to us, won't interview us. We're having a book banned in America. It happens the day that the war breaks out in Iraq. We have sent our kids over there to defend the freedoms of this country.
Defend the right to print this book and sell
Indeed,
it.
indeed.
I wrote about that, and I thought I was in Cuba. To be honest with you, I never thought that I would see in the United States of America a book being banned. A country that claimed to be the king of the freedom and the best
When I heard
defender
about
of the freedom of the people, and we have a book that is banned because a judge or a prosecutor do not like that book or do not agree with that book, that is really a shame.
I was shocked.
With all
I
my
didn't
respect.
believe I was hearing what I was hearing when I heard that this book had been
With all my
banned.
respect to the people of this country, because the people of this country have nothing to do with the mistakes the government made, and it's really a
But
shame.
it's the people of this country that have to start coming together and standing and supporting those that are taking a stand, because
That's
divided
true.
we fall.
That's true.
Whether it affects you or not, it's time. This could be a 5th grade math book, and if someone didn't like it, ban it. I mean, this is Mary had a little lamb story. It's absurd.
It's so criminal for a number of reasons. Number one, the judge took 10 minutes away from the courtroom to look at the book to come back to issue a restraining order.
He said he saw the book. You didn't see him read the book.
If you read, we did not see him open it.
Okay.
He did not read the book. I'll tell you how I know this. On page 274 of the Federal Mafia, this is like the heart of the book. It shows you how to file a return, claiming zero as your income, claiming no deductions, and claiming a refund of all the monies that you paid in last year. And the law, the attachment that goes with this return, 12 paragraphs, explains where in the law you're absolutely correct. You're standing square on the law when you fill out that form. Well, if you read the transcript of that hearing, of the temporary restraining order hearing of March 19th, or you listen to it on our website at paynoincometax.com, we are actually putting all the audio files of these court cases up there so that you can see the corruption of the courts, and you can hear Judge George, who has the restraining order on this book, say that we claimed our wages as income and then we took a bunch of deductions to zero out our return. We have never done that.
No.
And he says it, it's on the transcript, it's on the tape, you can hear it with your own ears. This is a book that the government that the judge is banning without even reading it. They did not, in this court case, even bring up one line inside this book that they said was false or fraudulent. Not one line.
Do you know any one of the prosecutors or anyone in the courthouse or anybody in the system that have read the book? Anybody from the IRS have read that book?
They don't read it.
Well,
They don't read it. I know when we
you
were
don't
in...
know anyone that has read that book in their group, in their team, in their clan, right?
The people that have read the book, John Turner, Joe Bannister, Sherry Jackson, former revenue officers, they no longer work at the IRS.
Because
They
they've
now
got
speak in the
enough-
freedom movement and show and help us to show people what a fraud the whole income tax is.
And when they speak, are they being banned too, or
Not yet.
not yet?
But the government has gone around this country and raided stores and homes and stolen computers and, like to our store, brought a U-Haul truck, took out our files, took all the evidence that we can use to defend ourselves in these cases, the evidence that they gave us when we went into the Internal Revenue Service with the Internal Revenue Code and said, show us where in the Internal Revenue Code you are authorized to audit my return or to change my return or where I am required to pay it, and we'll pay it right now. We had hundreds of transcripts of these hearings, and the government took them out of our office and then moved for the restraining order when they had ripped apart all of it's evidence tampering. They had taken the evidence that we could use to support our claims.
When you went to the, let's take a break, and then I'm going to ask you a question
Okay.
that I need to.
right.
We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere.
Don't go anywhere. You're so cute.
Gave you
You know
30
that's
seconds a
what you
long
are.
time ago, man.
Don't go nowhere.
All right.
Hey,
Let's go ahead and do it.
You're really cute.
Okay, here we go.
Go ahead.
5,
Let's
Red
go.
cheeks.
4, 3.
Okay, we're talking to Cindy Newman. My co-host is Patricia Say, Lady Liberty. And my question before the break is, when you guys went to the IRS and asked the IRS officers over there, I don't know what they call agents, officers, or whatever they are.
They're clerks.
Clerks. Yeah, they
A
are.
lot of them, I put the front
They're
end,
clerks.
That's all they are.
So you didn't go to the big man over there. You just went to any clerk, right? You went to just one there to a window and.
No, they call themselves revenue officers.
Okay.
Or impartial appeals officers. You've got examination revenue agents. I mean, they've got fancy
Well,
titles.
my question is, when
Yes.
you went there with that book for them to show you where it said that you had to pay the income tax, did you have the opportunity to bring the daily newspapers and the TV stations with you to hear that response? They didn't allow the media to be there?
They will not allow you now even to have a witness. The next thing we know, we'll be going into audits. They'll blindfold us before we go in. You know, they don't allow you to have representation unless there are people who talk like them and help them to pretend that they've got a law that makes you legally obligated to pay the income tax.
Are you allowed to take in a tape recorder like you
No
used to?
more.
No
more.
No.
And you know, we
No.
had an entire act of Congress that was passed in 1998 to protect you from illegal liens, levies, and seizures from
Right.
your property for the payment of income taxes. Now, there are provisions in the Internal Revenue Code that allow the IRS to go in. If you were an alcohol distiller or you were a bookmaker, they could come in and audit your books and records to make sure you're paying the proper tax that you are legally obligated to pay in the Internal Revenue Code. Everything is in
Alcohol,
order here.
tobacco, and firearms.
And diesel taxes and room taxes, they're all in here, all the taxes that you and I both pay.
Right.
All right, so, but let's say we're not involved in any of that. We're just individual citizens making a living. Well, in 1954, the mandatory language came out of the Internal Revenue Code. It used to be in there, the imposition of the tax, the liability for the tax, the requirement to pay the tax, record-keeping requirements so the government could check to make sure you were reporting the right amount. That's all out of the code. They took it out as a result of two major Supreme Court decisions, Eisner versus Macomber and Merchants Loan and Trust versus Schmatonka, where the Supreme Court ruled that Congress, by legislation alone, cannot alter the Constitution. And because income had already been defined in the Corporation Excise Tax Act, in the Constitution, they could not change the definition of income to mean your wages, salaries, or compensation for personal services. So income was decided to be only a corporate profit, a gain from corporate activity. Okay, so all
That's
of us
over and above your
individuals.
expenses.
Indeed, you
corporate.
get to filter all of your income through your deductions, and then you have a gross profit, then you start from there, or a net profit, and you start from there when you're filling out your tax returns. And it could be argued that even corporations don't have to pay the income tax because there's no provision for the payment of the tax, of the income tax, anywhere in the Internal Revenue Code. But the point of what I started out with, the 1998 Restructuring Reform Act, was because the government was going around seizing homes. If you all remember Congressman Traficant's trial, remember how much hell he raised in the Senate and then in the House about all of these homes that were being seized and these people who were taking their lives over IRS abuses?
That's why they took him down.
And now he's in jail.
He's in jail.
Well,
It's-
they not only take your home and everything, they are taking your Social Security check as they have been doing with my folks for the past 10 years.
Anything they can
Now-
grab. They
now
are
that-
bandits.
You know what? This may sound cold, but I am so thankful that the Lord Jesus Christ took my mother. Now those bastards, excuse my mouth, but that's what they are, can't get another red cent from my mother, but they're continuing to do so with my dad's Social Security check every month.
So that's
And
one of
that's
the
just-
reasons why the main reason why we're doing what we're doing.
You're
we're
standing
saying
up.
we're just saying this is the law. Now, if you folks aren't standing on any law, we're coming to you with a return supported by 10 statutes, 15 Supreme Court decisions, and other legal references to support our claim of zero income and the validity of our zero return, and our claim for refund. 31A1 says that you get all the money back if you ask for it, all your credits. That's what we do. Our return is absolutely legal. They can't do a thing to it. They never called it false or fraudulent. They wait 30 years, supposedly. They say Irwin Ship has been the biggest tax scammer in America's history for 30 years.
So
now they're
that
coming in, a stampede of DOJ attorneys from
Why was
Washington,
he-
D.C., to raid us, to vandalize us, to ransack us, to get us into court, to ban a book, and it all happens the day the war breaks out. This is not a coincidence. They do not want you to hear this message.
But why, if he's been doing that for 30 years, they wait 30 years to arrest him? Let's take a break
They
and
didn't
then
arrest anybody.
we'll be right back after this commercial break.
What? Oh, excuse me. But you're right. That's a good question. Why did they leave after the raid and leave us open in business? Why didn't
Okay.
they arrest
The
us?
break I was asking, if Irwin Ship was been defrauding people for 30 years, why he was never arrested for fraud, for any other of those business like
False advertising, consumer fraud, wire fraud, mail fraud. That's what we would all be guilty of.
Right.
What we
Right.
were doing
But
was
he's never been arrested for any of that
No.
stuff. He, in 30 years, he's been defrauding the people, he's been defrauding the audience, he's been defrauding the citizens of the United States of America for 30 years, and the government and the law enforcement agencies never took a step to defend the people of this country, of this guy that was so mean and so cruel, that was defrauding the people, and they didn't do nothing. So
exactly.
What
They
happened
sat
now?
on their rights, supposedly, from their own admission, because they're the ones who came up with the 30 years. I was shocked because 30 years ago I was just barely out of high school, and I'm thinking, well, what took you so long? You allow me and my family to come to work and to put our whole livelihoods in this business, and a lot of other people, hundreds of thousands of people are filing a zero return. So the government is culpable. If indeed Irwin Ship or myself, which we know we're not because we're in the IRS more than anybody else in America, we face them. Sometimes I'm up there 9 times in 1 week. They couldn't say, Cindy, what you're doing is illegal.
Right.
They couldn't pick up the phone. I'm faxing the national office, the Secretary of Treasury, the Charles Rosati. I'm calling the national office anytime I see a memo that looks suspicious. You mentioned tape recording. They don't allow us to record anymore. Why? Because they say the stupidest things. And every time we offer to pay the tax, if they'll show us where we're made liable for or required to pay it, they run out of the room. Well, they don't want you to hear that tape.
Well,
they don't want you to see that transcript.
They don't want you to be able to tape someone whenever the agent's throwing chairs at a client.
yeah, like it happened over
Ken
here.
Nicholson,
Right.
Yeah.
Ken
he did
Nicholson.
what I just did, and he ended up getting attacked by Wiley
Right.
Davis.
Yeah.
And he was the team
Has
manager.
anything happened to Wiley
I wrote the
Davis, by
story
the
in the
way?
Tribune.
Yes,
Yeah.
you did. Yes, you
Has
did.
anything happened? What's the current on that?
I understand that there is some kind of hearing coming up. I think it was this month, and we got so wrapped up in all of our cases. We've got a landslide of cases. But they're doing some kind of internal investigation,
Sure.
and you know how they will.
That
But
was what, 2 years ago?
it's been over a year. It may
Yeah,
have been 2
I think
years.
it's close to 2 years now.
And he's still employed, but if you were even to make a look like you were going to do anything to an agent,
Oh.
the cops would have been down there. You can't even do this to an agent. You touch an agent,
No,
you're in jail.
No, they
Right.
fear for their life.
Yeah.
Every time I hear that word, they fear for their life. I fear, and they go to court and they perjure themselves by saying, I had to shoot him 19 times because I fear for my life. And then you say, where's the gun? Oh, he didn't have a gun. You know, I go to all those corner inquests. I mean, this is ridiculous, ridiculous. You know, what they do is really almost like in Cuba. Almost
You
like in
must
Cuba.
be careful, Rolando, because when you start talking out, I mean, it's supposed to be a free country, and we're supposed to have First Amendment rights.
Yeah.
This book gets banned. The First Amendment is dead. If American people don't get off their tushes and get to the phone and call mainstream media, every journalist, every general editorial magazine, every law school, Get the students on every campus in this country involved in fighting for the protection of this book and his right to speak and his right to teach. We've been taken off our own radio show. We're banned from giving lectures. We're banned from representing individuals, for filling out their returns. All of these things, and they've never arrested anybody.
Give us a number that the listeners can call to help participate and find out what all, because I'm sure they didn't have time to run and get a piece of paper and a pencil to write all these ideas down, but a number that they can call to find out what they can do to help.
Great.
Because it is time people to start taking a stand, because these few people at Freedom Books are standing more for our rights than many of us, and we cannot continue just to sit home and do nothing. Because what is Reverend Moeller, I may be mispronouncing his name, but I can remember in hearing that he says, they came for the Jews. I wasn't a Jew, so I didn't do anything. They came for the union workers. I wasn't a union worker, so I didn't do anything. Well, folks, you may not be worried about your taxes right now, but the next thing you know, they could be knocking on your door.
Yeah.
So it's time that we stand together and support each other. And that's why I want you to
That's
give
the
a number.
whole point of the First Amendment. The First Amendment of the Constitution was enacted so that we could talk about government abuses and usurpations of power. Without the First Amendment, the rest of them may as well go into the trash, because you're not going to be able to talk about it when they come and they get your guns. Or they come in and ransack your books and papers and take information and arrest you for something and just go on fishing expeditions like they did with us. I mean, we haven't been arrested, and they're not going to charge us criminally either, because they know.
You have not been arrested after that raid?
Nobody
Even
was
after the
arrested.
raid.
No. We've not even been charged with anything. When we went to unseal the affidavit that supported the search warrant, they wouldn't let us even peek at the affidavit to see what we're supposedly being charged with. Well, what does that tell you? There is no affidavit that supported that search warrant in that raid. They just needed to evidence tamper, and they needed the judge to cover them up. But the information you can get, and you can listen to all of these trials, and please do, and copy this stuff. You can print off our website, get the tapes of these shows, and get them out there, because mainstream media won't do it. And it's your job to do that. And you go to paynoincometax.com on the internet, paynoincometax.com, and then also Freedom Books is here in Las Vegas, and Irwin Shipp has 8 books that he's authored, and he talks about a lot of government usurpation of power, and so the rest of his books may also be banned. But Freedom Books is 800-829-6666. 800-829-6666. And if you're here in Las Vegas, the number is 385-6920, and we're located right at 444 East Sahara, and you can recognize us because our sign is covered with a garbage bag, because it too has been banned.
We'll be right back after this commercial break. That's why I was asking that question about if the media went with you to the IRS, because the media will not go to the IRS with you guys. They would never.
They wouldn't let them in there anyway.
Well, but they would not even try to do it. That's what I
Because they
mean.
know they're in on
Okay,
it.
you guys ready?
Yeah, yes, we're ready.
Let's talk
Look
about
at the
why
center
the
camera
media-
coming back in 5, 4, 3, 2.
We are back now. We're talking to Cindy Neun, and my co-host is Patricia Say, also known as Lady Liberty. This is like what the law enforcement like to do. Alias.
Alias?
Alias.
AKA?
You know.
Do you call? I know you don't call her your sidekick then. You call her the co-host.
Yeah.
Yeah, because when Irwin and I are together, I'm the sidekick.
Oh,
I'm like the Vanna White of the Irwin Shipp Show.
Oh,
Yeah. So I was just wondering if maybe you got a new business card when you started working the show with Rolando, and maybe your business Rolando's sidekick, nothing like that.
No.
Not yet.
No.
You
This
got
is
a real title, co-host,
Oh, yeah.
like Kelly Ripa and Regis Philbin.
Right.
You're Regis, she's Kelly.
I'm rich.
You know,
No, I'm not rich.
I think Regis is very jealous of Kelly's popularity.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
Because she's very, very popular, and Regis didn't expect her to be that popular.
Well,
You know,
I think Regis has had that problem before with other
yeah.
co-hosts.
Yeah, we say, what was the name? The one that was before?
Kathy Lee.
Kathy Lee.
Mhm.
Kathy Lee.
She was America's sweetheart.
But
Yeah.
he's better looking than Regis is anyway.
Of course. Anyway, let me ask you something. How is the situation now with Erwin Shift? It's going to be a court trial. It's going to be a decision they're taking. You know, it's really what really amazed me is that Lloyd George, which is a man that really make people believe that he believe in the Constitution, and you know, I seen him when he swear new citizens in the courthouse.
Yes.
He almost cried when he talked about the
Yes.
Constitution of the United States,
Yes.
that how people should respect that Constitution.
I'm so glad you haven't asked me my opinion of him.
Well,
It's
I
a
already,
beautiful
wrote, I
oil
already
painting.
wrote, I already wrote my opinion of him
Yeah.
when I saw that building was named after
Right.
him. First of all, let me tell you, I don't believe that anybody that is still alive should have a building. I don't care if it's a federal court, or it's a school, or it's a park, or
Library,
it's a
anything.
garbage can. I don't think anybody that is alive should have a building named after them.
Right.
Because you never know what's going to happen the next week or the next month, or who the FBI and the IRS and the CIA and all the letters of the alphabet would like to destroy,
The alphabet
like they
soup.
did with Floyd Lamb.
Yeah.
They built this beautiful park. They put his name on, and then the FBI decide to send him to jail for whatever reason was, and I forgot what was the legal reason they sent him to jail, but it was corruption, you know. And now people want to take that name out of the park. They forget the good things that Floyd Lamb did for the people of this town, for his friends, for the community, for everybody. Because I tell you, I was not a Lamb crazy individual, but I have a lot of respect for Floyd Lamb, and even after he get out of jail, he ran for county commissioner in Lincoln County, I think, and he won his county commissioner seat again, because he was a human being. He was a very generous man and a very, very compassionate man. And that's why I don't believe that the people should be naming buildings after. But, you know, George Lloyd George is always speaking and bragging about the Constitution of the United States, and he banned a book in the year 2003. You know, I can't understand that.
Based
Maybe my
upon-
English is not that good. I cannot understand what's going on.
It's the will of a renegade agency who holds even the federal judges in terror.
Yeah, they can go after him.
Everyone is afraid of these clerks that work at the IRS who carry guns and come around, and they're not authorized to do any of this, folks. There's no law that authorizes them to carry guns, to audit your return, to do anything with respect to the income tax. It's voluntary. And I could go to jail for saying that. Do you get this? The government can tell you all day that it's voluntary in their Internal Revenue Manual and all of their speeches and everything else, but they tell you that voluntary doesn't really mean voluntary, you see. So it's voluntary unless we want to bring the guns out and get it from you if you don't give it to us. So, and that's what's really going on here. And we're the people who can really educate you, and we want you to get the information out to everyone else. So what we have working on Erwin Schiff's cases, this is the update so that you know what's going on. Now, lawyers, listen to this. Judges, listen to this. In the year 2001, the DOJ comes to Las Vegas. They serve Erwin Schiff with a $2.5 million assessments lawsuit because of 3 traditional returns, that's where he put in all the numbers, that he filed as a condition of his probation from when he went to jail years ago for failing to file and income tax evasion. Okay, so those assessments were 10 years old, so for the government to continue to collect it, they had to move to the court. Judge Philip Pro, right here in Las Vegas, has this case.
Another crud.
He has this case, and this case, the government, if they had any case against Erwin Schiff, it would be this one, because this is where Erwin Schiff put numbers on his return, all right? And so that case is 2 years old now, and we went to formal discovery where Irwin Schiff was deposed by these DOJ attorneys on January the 29th and 30th of this year. Now listen to this timeline. We're in formal discovery, deposition, ready to go to trial in this one. Irwin Schiff took the fifth on the amendment on the deposition. He said, I'll answer all your questions in court on these financial documents, but I want you to bring them into court and introduce them so I can defend myself here. So they got angry about that. They really wanted him to identify all of these checks and all of this stuff. And he said, I'll do it at trial, but I'm not going to help you build your case. Well, they were very angry with Irwin. And they said, well, you're costing us money. You're doing this and that. We're going to sanction you. So they said, we got to get out of town. Well, the next day I'm at the IRS, and they're there. February the 11th, the raid on our property where they took all the evidence. March the 14th, the temporary restraining order. Actually, they sent us a form that said we were going to go in for a briefing schedule. We didn't know that on March the 19th, the restraining order was actually issued. We had no notice on this. The restraining order is only supposed to last 10 days. 20 days with the agreement of the parties to extend it. Our temporary restraining order is now 60 days old, and you can read about that in this week's Las Vegas Tribune, Irwin Schiff's update. So 60 days, we're still under a restraining order. And we have not gotten a ruling from Judge George on this date at this taping, and it cannot go on this long. This is against all the rules. What they have done is they've taken a temporary restraining order and turned it into a permanent injunction and skipped 2 trials. Now, does this make sense to anybody?
No, but we got to take a break now. We'll be right back. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
How far
Did,
over?
did we went too
We're
much?
over by 2 minutes.
Oh,
I didn't
okay.
get the cut sign.
I
All right.
did. I was like this.
Oh, that is.
That's
Oh,
what I
I'm
was
used to
doing.
this.
Oh, yeah, but I can do that
This
in
is
this.
cut.
Because
Okay.
he went there.
Touch me.
He went. Oh, I
You can
did.
touch me.
Okay, I can touch you. Also.
How about the legs?
Oh man.
Yeah, we used to rub knees.
Probably, yeah.
All right, coming back in 5, 4, 3, 2.
We are back now. We talking to Irwin Schiff sidekick,
Cindy Neun.
Cindy Neun. Every time I look at her face, I go speechless. You know.
Speechless.
We're talking to Cindy, and my co-host is Patricia Say, and we're talking about the Irwin Schiff situation with the IRS, and actually it's no more the IRS, it's now the federal courthouse, which is taking steps to put a tape in Irwin Schiff's mouth when it comes to income tax and voluntary reporting the taxes, the income that we all make. And you know, I gotta be a little bit careful about what I said and how I say it, because I was not born in this country, and tomorrow I can be accused of being a terrorist just because I
Had Cindy on your show.
because
right.
I saw Cindy.
You
in
give
the
Irwin
show,
Schiff
you
a
know.
voice
You
that the
know,
government doesn't want him to
and,
have. You're being brave.
You know, but I want the people of this country to know that I do love this country, and I don't believe in betraying this country in any way or shape. But if they're speaking out for the people of this country and using the opportunity that I have to express the opinion and let them express their opinion in this is being a bad American, then I must be a bad American, because I believe in the freedom of expression, the freedom of speech, and the freedom of the press. And that's one of the things that I learned when I came to this country 5 decades ago. I believe in this country. I believe in the people of this country. You know, I don't agree with everything the government do, but who else do? No, not even the people that was born here, raised in here, 3-4 generations, agree with everything the government do. But I just want to make aware that I can be called a terrorist nowadays with the terrorist law, because I don't agree with what the government is doing to the people of this country, not only to me. They haven't done anything to me. I've been paying my taxes like everybody else has been paying. But other people believe that they should not be paying those taxes.
The income tax is destroying America's industrial base. the income tax. That's the main reason I am doing this. That's the main reason why I'm bringing my voice and this information to all of you. I haven't filed an income tax return since 1987. And before the raid, I could have shown you, I don't know how many transcripts that were made in hearings where I challenged the Internal Revenue Service, their appeals officers. I said, your job description says you have extensive knowledge of the code and the regulations. I haven't even filed since 1987. So if I'm required to file and to pay, or these fine people are required to pay the tax, just show us where and we'll stay all day and come into compliance with your law. But if you don't have one, then you've got nothing but a wish, sir. And I'm not going to give you a third or a half of my income to you based upon your will or your wish.
You know, Cindy, I've made an observation over the last 4 or 5 years that, Erwin speaks out, you speak out. Joe Bannister, who I was honored to have on my radio program on numerous occasions, he spoke out. Now,
He's a former revenue officer, special agent.
Right, special agent.
He was
they carried
authorized
the
to carry a
gun, the whole ball of wax. And when he decided to educate himself,
Yes.
then that's when he resigned.
He was asked to resign
Yeah.
when he asked the question, am I authorized to
Right.
carry a gun for the enforced payment of income taxes?
Right.
He was asked for his resignation at that point.
But all these people that have learned the truth are now being demonized by our so-called government.
And while the government goes around raiding all of us, and now let's not forget, a year ago, every leading income tax protester in America was under the same roof for 2 solid days in the government's own hood, Washington, D.C., where we had made a proper petition for citizens' redress of grievance, and we are entitled to that under the First Amendment,
Right.
where the government had committed in writing to be there, and where they didn't show, and we all showed, and we broadcast the hearings, the truth and taxation hearings, for 2 solid days live over the internet, and they did not even come over to talk to us.
No, after they had already said that they would.
We're going to
They're a
take
bunch of
another break,
cowards.
Patricia. I'm sorry to
That's
interrupt
all
you,
right.
but
They're
we
cowards.
we have to pay the
Yeah, I
rent.
know.
You know, we'll be right back.
Thank you.
Good. All right, 2 more segments and that's it, guys.
Oh yeah, that's nice.
You remember now.
Yeah,
It's all coming back to you.
yeah.
Okay, going in 5, 4, 3, 2.
We are back, and we are trying to educate you people about what's going on with Erwin Shift and the banning of the Federal Mafia book that was authored by Erwin Shift. And that's not the only book that he has, right?
No, no,
How
no.
many books did he write?
Well, anyone who has
Here's the
this
one that we're
week's
talking about.
Las Vegas Tribune, you
Oh,
see,
yeah.
Erwin Schiff wrote the book, The Social Security Swindle, How Anyone Can Drop Out, and he shows Americans how it's nothing but a chain letter that's run out of chain, and it's not going to be there to protect you, to save you. It's no net. You should take responsibility for your own retirement. Don't give it to the government because they're going to waste it. How Anyone Can Stop Paying Income Taxes was on the New York Times bestseller list in 1982. A lot of people stopped paying income taxes way back then based upon this little book. We're still selling this at Freedom Books. The biggest con.
That one is not banned yet, right?
None of these books have been banned yet,
Okay.
but these are all books available from Freedom Books. The biggest con, how the government is fleecing you, talks about how your money is worthless, and how the government continues just to print money like madmen, and then they just want you to spend and charge, and then you'll never know. And then this is The Kingdom of Maltz. This is the story of inflation, an adorable book that tells you just about how when they print money, how you're duped, and they're grabbing money out of your savings account every time they go to print more money. Now the talking heads, the economists on TV won't tell you about that. The Great Income Tax Hoax. This is the most extensive expose ever written on the income tax. He starts with the Federalist Papers. Totally, it starts on the Constitution and the whole basis. It's a marvelous book. Everyone should have this book, The Great Income Tax Hoax. And then How an Economy Grows and Why It Doesn't. This book is used in a number of economics courses in colleges. It's an economics course in 1 hour. It's really well written, very easy to understand, and a lot of teachers use it in their curriculums. And then we sell the Little Tax Rebels Guide to the Constitution. He also produces a number of other kinds of ammunition that you can use at the IRS, a lien and levy packet, the audit packet, a tax court toolkit. Let's say that you're going to tax court or district court with the IRS and you're questioning anything. You could come by Freedom Books, get the tax court toolkit, all of your cover sheets are there, all your rules are there, everything is there, 2 videos, 2 audios, a floppy disk. You can put together your case in 2 hours instead of hiring a big attorney and going in and all of this. Erwin Schiff, it's just magnificent at keeping everybody up to date with what the IRS and the government are doing and how you can protect yourself. He gives you the ammunition. And that's why they want to stop him. And that's why they have us gagged. And that's why they really would like us to break this restraining order that is now 60 days old without a temporary injunction. You see, if they move for a permanent injunction on this book, then we get a jury trial. A trial by jury, our peers.
They don't want that.
They can't win.
They can't afford it.
Not with us, because we're arguing our own case, and you'll hear us on our trials on the internet. And they know they can't win. They don't object to a thing that we say. They don't put on one witness for us to talk to question. And whenever we say, well, we'll make our statements under oath, you may cross-examine me, no questions, Your Honor. No questions, Your Honor. They're counting on that judge to cover their butts. That is what this is about. They wait, supposedly, 30 years. They let hundreds of thousands of individuals understand that there is no income tax. They're filing 0 returns. The government has issued over $700,000 worth of refund checks on the 0 return, the way Erwin Schiff shows you how to do it in the book. Then they come to court like madmen in this big hurry, in a giant emergency, to ban a book, to shut us up, to ban us from everything. Don't let them speak. Don't let them do anything. Don't let them sell their products. Make them put a garbage bag over their sign. Make them put this restraining order up on their website. And they don't even call us to tell us that what we're doing is illegal. When we're in their offices, sometimes 9 times in 1 week, they can't mention that this is false or fraudulent. They never do.
Oh, by the way, Cindy, that's illegal. That's it's fraudulent. Nothing.
If you or me or anybody were to allow somebody to, let's say I charge on your credit card, $56 million. You see me every week, sometimes 5 times in a week. You're talking about my website, my paintings, my children. We're all nice to one another. And then all of a sudden, one day, you decide, you know what? I'm going to get that $56 million back from Cindy. I'm going to go see Judge George, and I'm going to call her a scam artist. What would Judge George say to you? Well, did you send her a bill? Did you tell her you've had it? You're not going to let her do this anymore? Why did you let her do $56 million worth of damage to you before you made a claim against her? If you said, I made no claim, I sent her no bill, I never told her it bothered me, do you think Judge George would grant you a hearing, a trial? He'd sanction you. You might even go to jail for wasting his time. But the government can come crying.
Before I go to jail, I'm going to have to go to commercial break. We'll be right back.
Yeah.
B.J. Wagner, who has public access television in Santa Barbara.
You know why I'm saying that? And I put him in my column this week. It's because they can do that. They can accuse me of being a terrorist. And that's
All
why.
of us, this is what they're doing.
yeah.
They're doing this under the Patriot Act.
Yeah.
You guys ready?
Yep.
This is the last segment?
Yes, 4th and final.
Okay, we need to put our website.
Okay, going in 5,
Okay.
4, 3, 2.
We are back now, and in the last segment of the night, and Patricia, I guess I was bringing you over here because I figured Erwin Schiff was not going to be here, so you're going to have time to talk. But I guess Cindy's been eating the same kind of food that Erwin Schiff has been eating.
Do we have another hour? I'll take another hour. I have a lot to say because remember, we all used to be on the radio,
Right.
You and I both have had to cover a whole hour or more in doing our
But you want to say
programs, yes.
something about this?
Well, I just want to remind everyone that to go to www.lasvegastribune.com, check out our website, and be sure and go to our message board. I'm waiting for some hot debates to get started there so I can jump in and have my say.
Oh, I thought you was giving them the the
Oh,
webpage
she
for
has
her.
that.
No, but that's so important, both of you. Your website is probably, yours and the Idaho Observer are the only two honest, brave newspapers left in America who will say anything about this and keep us updated and keep the American public updated. So do visit the Las Vegas Tribune website, because there you can find out all about paynoincometax.com,
Right.
our website. You can get all of the War Room updates from Irwin Schiff's War Room, and you can find out exactly what's going on here with
And
these
you know,
tribes.
I'm not too familiar with. I'm an old person, so I don't know too much about computers. But we can put a link from Las Vegas Tribune to Irwin
Yes.
Schiff, right?
Uh-huh,
And we can-
and they can put a link
Do
to
we
the
have
Las
it now?
Vegas Tribune.
Do we have it now?
If
Why
we
did you
don't,
ask me
we'll
that?
fix it.
Because I don't know.
Well, I don't
We'll
know
make
Because
sure
I'm
either.
not
we
the,
do.
Well,
I'm not
we're
the
gonna
web
make sure.
mistress.
We're gonna make sure
But
that
we will.
we can ask that to the webmaster or webmistress. You know.
And Lady Liberty, you brought up another very important thing that everyone can do. When you go to the Las Vegas Tribune and you start getting on these message boards and speaking about what you're seeing here on this show, or what you're reading about in this newspaper or any other newspaper or even any other news in America, when you start getting on these message boards, you've got a huge audience, folks. You have a huge audience. So get your voice on this, get your ears on this. All of these topics. The Las Vegas Tribune does not print fluff and junk.
Fluff and puff.
They print what's happening. They are in the courtroom. They are outside the courtrooms. They are inside the city hall and all of these meetings, and the county commissioners. They know everybody, and they're reporting what the RJ and the Sun won't report, because there's influencers, there's politics working. This newspaper could be banned. If you are on a radio show and you are saying something that is anti-government, you could be banned. You could be gagged.
Absolutely.
Now, you must stop this. Don't think, well, oh, it's Irwin Schiff's book, and I always thought he was a free girl,
Oh,
or,
it's
you
Las
know, a
Vegas-
joke or
it's
whatever.
Las
I
Vegas
knew that
Tribune.
wouldn't work, you know.
It's Las Vegas Tribune.
Right.
Well,
Yeah,
you know, that
yeah.
little
Well, what do they
paper.
matter?
Yeah.
Okay, well, if you lose this book, then you're losing America's future, because nobody else is brave enough to do
And if
this.
you lose this paper.
Your job
you
is
lose
on
this
the line.
paper-
That's right.
You know,
That's right.
the books, the press,
Right.
our freedom of speech.
If it weren't for this newspaper, you might not even know that this book got banned,
That's right.
because they won't let
Why
us speak.
they didn't cover that story in the daily papers?
Not like we had.
They covered mostly the ACLU came in,
Right.
and so a number of other big organizations came in to fight for the First Amendment right to
Right.
speak. But of course, none of those people will even talk about the fact that the income tax is destroying America's industrial base, and the reason why our factories and all of our jobs are moving offshore. The excessive taxation and regulation is what's the problem. And so
Get rid of the taxes, and those big corporations
Well, you
will
know,
come
let
back
me tell you
here,
something.
and then we'll have our
Let me
job
tell you
back.
something. Las Vegas Review Journal have two men in there that are very much for the Bill of Rights and for the Constitution, which one is the editor, you know.
Greenspan.
No,
Oh, the other one.
I forgot his name now. I'm sorry, but you know, and the other one is big. He writes on Sundays.
Vince
Brenowich.
Yes.
He's done a couple of
Very
articles
good,
on
very
this.
good
He's a libertarian.
Yeah.
But we need action. We need action. We need to
Well,
import.
they cannot have action because they don't have the power to have the action.
Well, wait a minute. If we
Because
were
they
a
don't let
strip
'em.
club that had to cover our sign here in Las Vegas, Oscar Goodman would be in our parking lot pointing at that thing for every newspaper. Okay, every single camera of every media would be at our store if we were a strip club and had to cover our sign. I mean, this is ridiculous. This could end the income tax in America. Our trials can end the income tax in America, and nobody's talking about it?
And with that saying, we got to the end of our show. Good night. Thank you very much for listening to us, and thank you for listening to
Thank you.
Cindy Neun
Yes.
and Erwin Schiff.
And
Good
pass
night.
it on. Pass it on. Thank you. Thank you. I'm sorry. I
Did
had
we
to be...
win too much?
That's fine. It's okay.
This is so important. That's just the thing. We get so little time,
I
and
thought-
we have all this
well,
information.
I tell you one thing.
And
I'm
if
going-
we
I
can't
tell
just
what I'm
give you
gonna
the
do.
update.
I didn't want to say it in the air yet because they can call me. But I'm
I
going.
already put her on notice. notice one of our guys at public television, I came and interviewed us last week in Santa Barbara. He's censored. He went back to Santa Barbara and they won't let him put his show on. Public access television is being censored.
We should have mentioned that.
I was going to, and brought that up, but go ahead. See, there's so much more.
Because we can have 1 week a month. You know, that way we got 3 weeks to do other issues, and but 1 week a month, everyone and you can come over and do the show.
Thank you. It's so important because, first of all, when you've only got 1 hour and you've got commercials, you have to first, a lot of people never heard of us. They don't even know about this to begin with. So you got to give them the update. You got to get them up to speed what we've been doing, and now you got to tell them what's